Hi. I'm Amy Gilbride, if you don't know who I am. I know most of your faces, but some of you maybe we've only seen in passing. I teach 5th grade, and I'm here with Roxanne Kingston, who teaches 2nd grade. And we're going to share with you today just some of our ideas on progress monitoring and documentation. You know, we're teachers, and as teachers, we're scavengers. We get information from every little place, every little nook and cranny that we can find it. And we take that information and we tweak it and we make it our own. We get it from each other or colleagues. You know, we collaborate and talk to get it. We find it on different media sites like Pinterest or Teacher Pay Teacher, or there's lots of different other sites like that. Or maybe you're even in the copy room and you see something that looks really good, and you might make you want to photocopy of it and just take it in your room and make it your own and redo it. And we get it from everywhere. And so what our idea of what our presentation today is going to be is we're just going to give you some ideas of some of the things that we do in our room, and you can pin it to your own little document. We have some papers that Roxanne has that you can just write down and put down that bit of information on the sheet that you, just anything, there's a nugget of something that you might take and tweak and make it your own. And I know for the middle school, high school teachers, I'm hopefully, when I get to my presentation, I have some things that might be a little more on your level with, because we talk a lot about Google. I'm going to talk about Google Docs and some things that we use with that. But just hopefully you can take a little bit of information. We'll have, after Roxanne's session where she shares a little bit of some of her practices, we'll have a breakout session where well, not a breakout, so what do you call it? Just groups. You're going to meet together in groups and you can just visit and maybe share some ideas that you have, that you use within your classroom. And then we'll get back together and I'll share a little bit of mine. So hopefully, let's see, this is Pinterest. This is the Pinterest page if you're not familiar with it. You can find lots of ideas about teaching and organization, and I think, Roxanne, the idea that you're going to share you got from
I did. Yep.
one of them anyway, you got from Pinterest. And our target goal today is just to take these effective practices that we're sharing with you and develop your own effective practice, which you already do, and we're just giving you some ideas for that and where you can share with that. So we have the worksheet out already. I'm going to pass it on over to Roxanne, and she's going to share some of her ideas.
I'm going to basically doing a lot of talking about our writing. Okay, especially with elementary, our writing program is not the best, and we've been trying to tweak it, trying to make it better, trying to make it work for us. So what I did this year, I have not done this before, but before Christmas our kiddos did a writing assessment. It was a personal narrative, and then 2 teachers scored it on a rubric. And so when we came back from Christmas, I met individually with every kid in my class, and we talked about how the teachers scored that writing. And so I showed them what the rubric was, how it was highlighted, what each of the teachers saw, what they did well and what they didn't. And it was really amazing to see what some of the kids, they had no idea. They were, oh, I didn't know that's what you wanted. It just kind of opened their eyes. I had one kid, the prompt was write about a personal narrative about a time he played in the snow, or a time he played in the winter, cold, something like that. And so one kiddo wrote the whole thing as, I will build a snowman, I will go sledding, I will do this, I will do that. And after he read it, and I asked him, I said, well, what were we supposed to write about? He said, a day I played in the snow. And it was like a light bulb clicked. He was like, oh, I wrote it all like I was going to do those things. I said, yeah. So he saw what he had done wrong. And it was just kind of amazing. Not all of them understood, but a lot of them understood, like, oh, that's really what you want. And so that first week when we got back from Christmas, I met with them, each of them, and we talked about, I put their name down, and then I talked about what we had seen on here, what they could do better, what their personal goal was. And so, in my chicken scratch, I wrote this all out at my mid-year review. Tricia said, Roxanne, you could put that in a document, and you wouldn't have to write it every time. So this is what I'm going to use from now on, so it's evolved, it's changed, whatever works for your classroom. So yeah, I was, back to the chicken scratch, and then, I also want to show, here then, as they're working on writing, not every kid that I meet individually on their writing, but I have about 5 or 6 kids that I do. And so those kids, I have a clipboard that I carry around, and I write down how I meet with them individually. And so I put down what we work on and what day it was. But other kids, as I'm just walking around, I might stop in and visit with, Tristan is not one of my individuals, stopped in and say, hey, what's your goal? And he tells me, and then we talk about, well, let's see, did you work on that in your writing today? And so I kind of just put the dates that I met with those kids, and then, this is my Pinterest. Then we came up, we had a work day, Jess and I got going on this, and we made this writing goal poster. So then we took not only this, but then we transferred it to this poster in our classrooms that each kiddo then put their name on the goal they're working on. Because, as you all know, some kids are like, oh yeah, what's your goal? And they have to go look. And so it has something in the room that holds them accountable, lets them see where their goals are at and what they're working on. Still have to explain to the kids, you're still working on beginning, middle, and end, but this is your individual goals. This is really good. The kids really understand that that's what they're working on. So I really have liked where this is going. Basically, though, we just got going on it after Christmas. So that was our Pinterest idea. This is just a sheet. This is then the kiddos that I meet, documentation that when I met with them, this is one of my case study kiddo. He is working on vocabulary, he's working on details, but his vocabulary, like I stopped and met with him the other day, he wanted to know a different word for lived. He didn't like the way it sounded in his story. And so him and I met and we went to the computer, looked up on a thesaurus, and looked up lived and came up with the word dwelled. He liked that name. We looked through all the words. And so just documentation and a differentiation. He's one of my higher kiddos, just trying to get documentation that we could bring to mid-year. This is also a documentation that I use with Kayla. Kayla's in my room with title, and we kind of had a hard time at the beginning of the year coordinating what she was working on and what I was working on, and so came up with this form. So when we meet with them individually, put the date and the goal that we're working on, and then I write down what I worked on with him, and then she writes down what she works. So if we're working on high frequency, we can have the same words and hits on it, more times. It just helps it be better. Then the kids even, like, what are you writing? And I show them what you're writing, but it's just a way to hold them accountable and to double hit on those ideas, because those are the kids that need the extra help. So this just stays on our table and we just transfer it back and forth. This is my SLO, Excel spreadsheet, that has all my kids in the class. Actually just made this up, stole this from her. And we took the kids this is at the very beginning of the year. These two were my low kiddos, red, very low, and then watched how they progressed. Truly, I didn't think either one of them would get above an S-. I really thought in indicators they might stay an N. They have gone S- and actually has exceeded that and gone on to an S. So I just keep track by the colors. So the yellow ones are still working. Once they hit green, then hopefully they stay green. She didn't. So, and you never know, the prompts change things. Another thing though and I didn't get my picture all the way down, at the bottom it also keeps track of how many kiddos in each area, because on our SLOs we had to have the number, and so this actually calculates how many are in each group. And so that I know on our SLOs we have to have that. This is a way to self and peer assess. Again, Jess came up with this one last year. In our journals, I would go through and I'd staple this, not every day, staple this in the top of their books, and then if they had the plan, they could make a check or an X mark. If they had a beginning, middle, and end, they could make the check marks. Well, again, it's evolved. Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to make these? Why do I need to do this? Because now I've taught them to do it themselves. Make a box up at the top, a plan, a title, the date, beginning, middle, and end. And so they do that themselves. Most kiddos do it on their own. I don't have to tell them. Some I do. And some days they do it on their own. Some days I'll say, don't assess yourself today, because then I have a partner do it. Because some of the kiddos, oh, that's a beginning, and it really isn't. You know, and so then when a peer then reads it, or they read it to them, then they could truly say, oh, I didn't really think that was a good beginning, or a good middle, or a good end. And so it's just a way to hold them accountable. So again, things evolve, we tweak it to make it our own. All right, on your desks, or I handed out the papers, we'd like you to now just kind of get in groups of 3 or 4, whatever, group together, and either share ideas that you saw here that you would like to tweak, or things that you're doing in your classrooms that you would like to share out to each other and give each other ideas. So go ahead, we'll give you a couple minutes to share with each other, and then we'll be back.
I like that. That was my definition. I just wanted to see where S minus plus whatever, and then yeah, see where
I didn't know
Even pictures, and then like you click on the picture.
Never heard of it?
It would send you to a website.
You have so many ideas. It is not only
You'd have been sitting just the rest.
Come on, don't be.
Parents,
maybe you could
I
even
need
break it
that.
down.
That's there too.
I think you had organized, I think it was
So you search by topic.
yes. Or you can just, the new stuff.
You don't probably expect them to look from
Like teaching videos, or if you want to say like writing,
Then you pin it.
indicators.
Pin at the top, and then you make your own, like, I have an education board, so it goes to them. Or I have a recipe, or I have craft.
so like you're searching through all the different ideas and you like the idea, it just organizes the things you like. And then kind of like you can organize the bookmarks, so
Yeah,
your site, so you can just organize the
I
capitals or bookmarks.
Yeah. And if you're like me, I send a whole bunch of them, I forget
I do keep calling them up.
So is everything then on like your,
Yeah, I got
you
one more.
have like a home page or?
Yeah.
You know,
Running an account too much doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't just search
It's
without
like,
an account.
I used to.
That's hard before, but try to keep
On my phone, I just have an
So
app.
then you can put them in.
You can't take that extra time to do it.
Category.
Sit there and write down what they did because
half the time.
I know.
And half the time I come back to my desk and there is my laid open like
Jenny just signed off what I did, what they did.
Your craft product.
Well, I have you.
I never.
Just take another minute and finish up your conversation. Peter, make sure.
That's what I put on there.
I did. I
Yeah, wonderful
wouldn't.
basketball playing. And I coach.
well, and those are nice because, and I know first grade did them too, but we have a Velcro, so, because we have extras. So we will change it up, because at the beginning, you know, we're probably working on
Watching Dib.
capitals, periods, spaces.
I like that word too.
Where, you know, if towards the end of the year, you know, we're not really focused on, there might be one or two, but really. Yeah, I do.
Okay, hopefully, hopefully you are able to get some good ideas from each other, share some information, something that you can take back to your room and use. I'm going to share a few of my things. This is my 4th year here, and I'm still, I'm the queen of trying to figure things out. I'm trying to figure out how I want to organize it, and I try it one way to organize my documentation and everything in my pensive, and then I try it another way, and it keeps evolving, it keeps changing, and I keep trying to make it work for me. But sometimes you get those things that stick, and you keep them no matter how you change your documentation, you keep them. I wanted to share a couple of those things that really stuck with me that we heard from some professional developments a couple years ago, and I just want to share a couple of them with you. One of them is I have a student that's working on accuracy, and she doesn't self-correct, and she can't hear herself, and she can't hear mistakes that she's making when she's reading. And so one of the things that we've done is that when she reads, I keep tally marks. And I tally all the times that she's made errors and then all the times that she's made self-corrections. And we'll do that, and she'll get to see it, and we'll talk about it. And then the next day we do it again, and hopefully as we work more on self-correction, she can see herself improving and getting better in those areas. Another area is, I talk a lot. I sometimes talk too much to my students, and we've all had it where the teacher starts sounding like Charlie Brown. I feel like that's how I sound sometimes because their eyes glaze over and they're not really listening anymore. So a method that we learned about was just a touch method. I don't know what it's called. That's just what I use. And I have my student read my ones that and as they read through, when they make a mistake, I don't say anything. And this is a method I teach them what it means. I just touch the hand or the arm, and they have to go back and I made a mistake somewhere. And it's a way that that they can learn how to self-correct and self-monitor eventually. It's just a way for me to step back. And I'm helping a little, but I'm not talking, and they have to go back and think, okay, where did I make that mistake and where can I reread? So those are just a couple ideas that you can use. Again, I try things, try new things. This is where I used to do a clipboard like Roxanne has done. I've taken it, and that's where this is from. And so I have like different, where they have their reading goal, their writing goal, and I don't keep separate information for my reading and writing. I just put it all, and a lot of, I think the elementary do this. They just put the writing and the reading all together. And you meet about the student and you write your information down. And this I kept on another sheet and I pasted it in here. And then I had another page and I just started writing on it. And other times I had the sheet that I showed, the last one here. This is one from the Daily 5, and then this is one that I've kind of made myself. You do whatever works for you. You can combine your styles. You just try different things. This is where I want to show and talk about Google Docs. In 5th grade this year, we got these things called Chromebooks, and they're amazing. We share them, the kids, we can get them. We feel like it's authentic because as adults, we write, you compose everything on your computer. So we're starting in 5th grade to really wanting them to compose it all right there, their whole story. We're really focusing on 5-paragraph essays, descriptive essays for the 8th grade, NISA tests, but that's what our SLO is. But we also are teaching all these other different genres. And it's really neat because these kids from the beginning of the year to now, they can get on their Chromebook, open it up, do their whole story, type, revise, edit. It's amazing. Here's an example of a student that's struggling. These are kind of the things I can do with differentiation within Google Docs. She has her document. She shared it with me. She wanted to write, we're writing stories right now, and she wanted to write about a cheerleader that tries out and doesn't know what to do, and she learns all the tricks from a friend, and then she tries it out and she wins, or she gets on the team. And so she wanted pictures. She needed a visualization so she could be descriptive with her writing. So here she can see, she chose a picture. We went on and showed her how to cut and paste it in. She can use that for when she's writing the story, and then we'll get rid of it. But she needed that visualization. That's one way. Another area that is amazing that you can use for documentation is the comments. So with my lower writers, this is just some comments that we made today. She was writing, she had basically her entire story in 3 sentences. And so how do we expand that? So, you know, she asked me some questions about that, and then I went in and I color-coded her document for her, and we just made here's some things about, I gave her some comments about expanding that second paragraph and being able to take this is one idea and make that a paragraph. Here's another idea and make that a paragraph. It's a way for her to see and me to give her comments and feedback right on the computer. And then this is also my documentation of how I worked with this student. And so it's just really been handy. Colleen Lewin, there's also a feature on this, I haven't worked with it yet, where you can record your voice comments. Has anyone done that? You can record your voice comments to the students, so you can say, okay, look at this paragraph and give them suggestions, and I haven't tried that. I'd like to try that. This has been really effective. I have a horseshoe table. I have all my students that need a little extra loving right around me, and then I have the other students that are more independent out and about, and then I can see who needs help here. They can ask me for help through. And I have all their documents up on tabs, and I can just toggle between their different stories and make comments and see what they need. And the other students have a little red tent, and they put their little red tent up if they need help, and then I can open up their document, ask them what they need. And so everybody, it really works on that, what's that word? Stamina. So it works on their writing stamina. They're at their desk. They know they're supposed to keep writing as they, always keep writing, even if they're stuck and waiting for me to help them. Keep changing, keep revising, keep going. So I love Google, I love the Chromebooks. All right, and so the next thing I want to share, which we have a little bit of time, is this is my slow documentation. And I made mine directly. I don't know who, I want to go touch that screen, but I can't, can I? We have the smart boards and I could just touch. But I don't know who made it. Somebody in the tech team made it, and then I took it and added and made it our own. This is how we were supposed to show our slow documentation. But I just have with mine, we have rubrics. We use the 8th grade rubric is what we score the 5th graders writing on. And we're focusing on ideas and content and organization. And I just took, they get a double read for their pre-test and their formatives. And so we put a score up, and so here's where the score and what's a below, what's a meets, what's it exceeds. The highlighted ones are my case studies, the beginning, the low, the middle, and the high. And then I keep it all. I just like to have a hard copy of things too, so I just keep it all in a nice folder where I have all the different documentation that we need to show for our slow progress monitoring meetings that we do. A next thing, each student has their own writing folder, and within this writing folder, it has the different descriptive rubrics. It shows where they are at in it. It shows the different bullet points, so that if they, so when I can conference with each of those students, we can discuss the bullet point that they might need work on within the rubric, especially the higher students. This is where, okay, I'm doing good, I'm getting I'm meeting, so how can I exceed? What areas can I work on? And so we can look at these bullet points, and I can have that set as their focus and their goal they can go through. And they graph themselves, they graph their progress according to that sheet that I had before, like whether their beginning meets, exceeds. And they do this not only for the pre and post tests, but for all the writing that's assessed during the year. This is their other genres that we assess. And they have just a binder that has all their writing in it right there that we can go back and look and see and find out what they need help with. So that's our presentation. I hope that you found a little bit of information. I know our time's up, and hopefully you were able to share good information between yourselves, and you found something that you can just take even just a little bit and tweak it and use it for your classroom. Thank you.